Welcome to the Truckers and Nerds podcast, where we connect real-life truckers with freight tech companies to discuss technological innovations in the trucking industry. The Truckers and Nerds podcast is hosted by Tobenna Diobu, CEO and founder of Cloud Trucks. This podcast is brought to you by Cloud Trucks.
Today we have Shoaib Makani, the co-founder and CEO of KeepTruckin. Shoaib, it's nice to have you on the Truckers and Nerds podcast.
Great to be here, Tobenna. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, hey, I'm really excited to have you on the show today. I've been looking forward to this chat for a while. To get started, I wanted to just hear your background and the journey to becoming the founder and CEO of KeepTruckin.
Yeah, I'd be happy to walk you through that. It wasn't by any means a direct path to get here. I knew I wanted to build things and solve problems from a fairly early age. And coming out of college, I set out on that journey. I joined Google. This was about 2007, and really got a sense of what it was like to build technology products at very significant scale. And for me, the next step then was to see what it's like to build at a startup. And got that experience. Actually joined an early stage mobile advertising technology company called AdMob, and that ultimately was actually acquired by Google. So did a bit of a round trip, and I started at that point to dabble and was hacking on side projects, but nothing of real consequence. And then and I knew I was looking for an inspiration. I was looking for a really meaningful problem to solve, but I didn't have anything immediately in front of me. And the opportunity to join a venture capital firm, presented itself, and it was a way of spending my time productively, going and learning about company building, seeing a lot of startups, and also provided a platform for me to really go deep on a few different markets that I was personally interested in, and so I became fascinated with logistics, and I was fairly thematic as an investor. I would go outbound looking for specific companies in a specific space, and logistics is a space that I just took real interest in, and it also happened to be just a huge opportunity, and a broad spectrum of opportunity. Right, there was sort of consumer and on-demand logistics companies, lots of activity there, and I got to make some investments in that space. And then on the sort of commercial or enterprise logistics side, really dug in. And what I immediately recognized, this was incredibly underserved. There wasn't really modern technology companies being built. There wasn't a lot of entrepreneurship focused on this industry and trucking in particular. And so really that's where I was able to identify the specific opportunity to build technology for the trucking industry, starting with compliance. And really the rest is history.
Oh, that's a fascinating story. What years were you in venture?
I started in 2011 and I left in 2013.
That's interesting. I remember this time period. So I first moved out to the Bay Area in 2013, and then I left and then I came back again in 2014. And the view at the time was that you couldn't really build a large company focused on small businesses. And I knew there was also a lot of skepticism on trucking at the time. So I'm curious how your experience in venture and all of the things that you were seeing made you decide to go into something that was pretty non-consensus at the time.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I was trying to be contrarian or seeking out controversy in that sense. What I was really doing was seeking out opportunity from first principles. And when you're looking to build a company, you've got to have a point of view. And it's got to be a differentiated point of view. Otherwise, someone would have already realized the opportunity. And you can only have a point of view, a strong point of view, an informed one on so many dimensions. I mean, you can't, know everything and pursue all markets. And so this is where picking something that is at the intersection of, significant consequence, it's big, but also a personal interest, is what drove me to trucking. And it wasn't that I went there exclusively because it was again, contrarian, it was because there was significant opportunity that was unrealized. There wasn't as many people operating in the market that were trying to solve problems in a technology forward way. And so that left a lot of opportunity to go and actually explore and build and create without necessarily competitive pressure. I mean, frankly, if I can go into a market that is underserved but big, I would rather do that than fight for scraps in a really competitive market that's small. And so, and also, I think taking a step back in terms of like personal motivation and my own values, I wanted to solve problems for people that do really meaningful work, but hadn't had great technology built for them. And I think every industry, every individual can benefit from technology, right? I think technology can make our lives easier, safer, and more productive. And that's the personal conviction for starting a company focused on trucking initially. And now, of course, we've gone beyond trucking. But I wanted to solve a problem for the men and women who, keep our economy moving, do the really hard work that makes really the rest of our economic potential possible, and do it in a way that appreciates who they are.
I think that's great. I mean, this is one of the things that I've always loved and really admired about KeepTruckin. We serve the same audience, and like you said, these are the men and women that kind of keep the economy going, keep the country going. And I think it's a worthwhile thing to work on. So talk a little bit about KeepTruckin then. So explain the company and the state of the business today.
Yeah. So our mission today is really quite simply to improve the safety and productivity of businesses that power the physical economy. And this goes beyond trucking. I mean, really any organization that employs drivers and operates vehicles or other physical assets or equipment has a complex set of needs ranging from visibility and tracking to regulatory compliance, driver safety, vehicle maintenance, fuel efficiency management, and a whole lot more. And today, the KeepTruckin platform solves those problems in an integrated way that breaks down data silos that would otherwise exist if you were using multiple technology providers or point solutions to solve these problems. And really, at the end of the day, we give our customers visibility into their entire operations. And then increasingly now, we use AI to automate the routine tasks so that they can focus on the highest leverage activities. We think about operating leverage and giving humans leverage as one of our core principles. And to, many of your listeners likely use the KeepTruckin ELD, which is our product for hours of service compliance, or our AI dash cam to protect their drivers on the road. But we solve really a broad range of problems for fleets of all types.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think KeepTruckin is definitely a favorite, especially in the owner-operator and the small fleet segment, whether it's the ELDs or the AI dash cams, like you mentioned. So this is clearly something that resonated. So you started the business in 2013, right? And then this grew incredibly fast. I mean, you guys went from starting a company to now serving tens of thousands, I believe, of truck drivers in a very short period of time. So what was that journey like?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't a straight line, that's for sure. I mean, I think at the heart of it, we obsess over the customer, and really everything we build is driven by the requirements, needs of our users. And so our initial product was an electronic logging solution. Actually, it started as a free application for drivers to do logs on their phone. And we built that because after talking to hundreds of drivers, it was very clear that this was one of the most significant pains of the job. They hated doing it. It was obviously it's a universal requirement, so they had to do it. And we believed we could build something that was really 10x better. We very narrowly focused on that. For the first 3 years of the company was really all about our free electronic logging application and the sort of complementary web app for the fleet manager to manage compliance. And only when we nailed that did we start to broaden the horizons and start to scale beyond that and say, what are the next problems we can solve? What's the next problem? What's the next problem? But it all starts with one. You have to do one thing incredibly well so that you have the opportunity to solve subsequent problems or adjacent problems. But thankfully, we solved the ELD problem in a very high quality way. We are the market leading electronic logging solution in North America now, and that has given us the opportunity to extend beyond. But we still obsess over the customer. We really make sure that both the products we build, but also the service we deliver is exceptional. Because we know that these products, the products we're building, our electronic logging solutions, our fuel efficiency solutions, our AI dash cam and driver safety solutions, they're all mission critical. You can't let the user down because they are so integral to running an efficient operation, a safe operation. And so we take that very seriously, and we really obsess over product quality and service quality and over our customers in general.
That totally makes sense. I mean, by the way, I love that focus and obsession on serving customers and doing one thing right, and then really expanding from there. Some people, the truck drivers listening to this and fleet owners definitely, this probably resonates with them. But a lot of people don't realize that before, I guess, 2016. A lot of owner operators had to keep track of these logs on paper. And that's just like a really tedious thing to do, especially with all of the hours of service requirements that are really complex. So I can see how having the mobile app initially and then moving to the full ELD has definitely saved a lot of people, a lot of headaches on the compliance side.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, we really thought about that electronic logging application as kind of a bridge between the paper world and the ELD world. And when we started the company, we knew there was, ELD regulation being contemplated. We didn't know when it was going to be brought to market or specifically how. But our view was, we'll go and build an audience for this free application. We'll deliver value to our customers. We're not going to. It was completely free. We weren't generating any revenue, but we had conviction that if we delivered this and built this trust with drivers and fleets, we would figure out what to do next. If it was electronic logging devices and fleet management, we'd go down that path. Potentially it would be in building other services, adjacent services for drivers or fleets. But I think most importantly, what we wanted to do was build that trust and relationship and connectivity with drivers as well as fleet owners.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, last year there was the pandemic that really affected a lot of businesses. Some saw some positive changes in their business. Some businesses had to really adapt to stay alive. I'm curious how the COVID pandemic shaped the operational or created any operational challenges on the KeepTruckin side. Yeah,
I think no business was spared impact, and KT was no different in that sense. I think there's a few things. Like our most importantly, we wanted to make sure that our customers were okay, and a lot of our customers, we saw vehicle activity come to a halt in our network, and we can actually literally measure how many miles are being driven and by who. And we saw lots and lots of companies essentially being idle for a month plus. And we made an effort to make sure that those customers could make it through. And we did everything we could to provide relief in terms of payments due, but also did a lot of advocacy work to make sure that federal funding and relief was coming to the trucking industry at large. We did a lot of advocacy work here that had a real impact. But in terms of our business, we've always embrace this idea that there's great people everywhere, and that we should, build offices around the world or recruit people all around the world that can contribute to our mission. And so this idea of distributed work wasn't new to us. Now, remote work was. We still were, we had many offices around the world, but folks were coming in an office, like actually and working together And all of a sudden, of course, we had to switch to remote work, which definitely presented operational challenges and coordination challenges. But actually, we made the switch pretty seamlessly. At that time, we had about 1,500 employees, maybe 1,400, and literally within days, everyone was operational at home in a remote setting. Now, there is some exceptions. Some of our hardware engineering team and hardware operations teams need to be in office. There's a physical product that we build, physical products, and so actually, what's nice is our team in Taiwan was completely unaffected. Taiwan actually never had a shutdown because they very early sealed their borders, and they just had a very efficient response to the early days of COVID. But outside of that, we have folks now coming back into the office, and we're choosing to allow for remote work or hybrid, as we call it, where our offices will continue to be operational, but teams will get to choose if they want to be in the office or not. And I think that's probably the future of work. Some hybrid format is probably here to stay, and we very much embraced it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. CloudTrucks launched in May of 2020, and I remember initially everyone was worried about the effects on the trucking industry and the truck drivers and the owner operators that we serve, and rates were kind of falling off a cliff. And then, because I think a lot of manufacturing came to a halt, and then there was this huge boost as people realized that everyone kind of needed stuff delivered. And it was amazing to see, the truck drivers basically come out in droves and just keep working throughout this period. So it's interesting to hear about, the time when everything kind of came to a halt and you could see the data, right? And you were trying to push forward on making sure that customers were okay, and then seeing kind of this fast rebound in the trucking industry.
Yeah, we saw that in our own data as well. Obviously, rates spiked coming out of shelter in place in April, May. And so did, just overall trucking capacity. We just saw a huge number of new firms being formed and existing trucking companies adding vehicles and adding capacity. And that trend has maintained really for the last 18 months. I mean, it's been, we've seen tremendous growth, both in terms of new companies joining KT, but also our current customers investing in technology. So upgrading their products, adding our asset gateways and trailer and equipment tracking devices, adding AI dash cams, but also adding more drivers. And that's been, I think, important for the industry, but has been great for the KT business.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about those products. By the way, it's not every day that you see a tech company that's able to kind of go from one product to another and just kind of expand the value that they provide to customers, right? So you started with the initial kind of free mobile app to log hours, then you moved over to the ELDs, which I know a lot of people kind of think of KeepTruckin as the ELD company, but since then you've launched these AI dash cams and other safety initiatives. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the dash cams and other compliance and safety initiatives that you're working on.
Yeah, KeepTruckin today is a fleet operations platform, right? And that means that we solve really the most consequential problems that fleets face in their physical operations. So compliance, of course, is one of them. Telematics and tracking. Where are my goods? Where are my vehicles? Where are my trailers and equipment? And are they being operated efficiently and safely? There's, the vehicle maintenance. We're actually able to increasingly predict issues, surface them to our fleet managers so that they can take preventive action rather than having to react after something fails. We also, you mentioned the AI dashcam. This has been a longstanding effort where we've really built what is the market leading product in terms of ability to detect unsafe driving behavior using AI on the edge. So things like close following, lane keeping, driver distraction. We're able to really observe it in the cab with very, very high recall. very high accuracy and high precision. And so what that then does is it allows us to really become the assistant to the driver in the cab. The vast majority, of road accidents are caused by preventable behaviors, where if you assist that driver and help them be more focused and take the right precautions, you can actually reduce the frequency and severity of accidents. And that's very well proven out in the data. And so this is an area of critical investment for us. We put years into our AI and ML work to build models that can detect unsafe behaviors. We've built really market-leading hardware that can run those models with the greatest efficiency. And then we've done a lot of work on the coaching and sort of video review side, so that we're actually automatically helping drivers get better on the road. So it's a sort of full stack approach. But yeah, it's been a key area of focus for the company. But again, it's a part of a broader platform. And that's where this idea of integrated fleet management, integrated fleet operations is really critical and central to how we think about our opportunity. And actually more fundamentally, what customers need. If you are a fleet manager, if you operate vehicles, you don't want 4 different solutions, one for compliance, another for tracking, another for dash cams. You want one integrated platform. And that's what our mission is. We want to deliver that to the industry at large.
No, I love that focus on the oneness of the platform. There's another product that you guys launched fairly recently that I'm very curious about. So I believe you call it the Smart Load Board. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that helps with this vision of really helping with fleet operations?
Yeah. So today, something like 50%, 55% of our customers are for-hire trucking companies. So that means they carry freight for third parties, for shippers or for brokers. And the way they have found loads to move traditionally is, frankly, antiquated, right? I mean, they're either calling brokers or receiving phone calls. They're going to these traditional load boards and then making phone calls. It really all ends with a phone call to actually tender a load. And we think that leads to a fundamentally inefficient transaction, on both sides, right? Those who need a truck are not finding the right truck because they're running a manual auction. And the truck driver or the trucking company oftentimes isn't carrying the best load for them because they don't have full visibility into all the freight that is available around them. And so that results in more empty miles driven. Obviously, that has a real sustainability cost, consuming more fuel than otherwise should, but also then impacts the bottom line because now a trucking company isn't earning what it should and is incurring higher costs than it should. And so our belief is that there should be a marketplace for freight that is fully transparent and is comprehensive, so that you as a driver, as a trucking company operator, have full visibility into really all of the freight that is available in the market. And importantly, we're helping actually identify the freight that is most relevant for you because we understand your preferences. We understand where you are currently, like what is your current location, what is your availability, where do you want to get to? We can actually infer all of that based on the data that the KeepTruckin system generates. And so that is where we're headed. We're building really the load board of the future, if you will, one that has more loads than any other provider. And we're working with the leading 3PLs to aggregate loads and publish them into our system. And then we're putting a lot of work on the data science side to make the most relevant loads visible and available to our carriers. And we're we're starting to see really significant adoption and a really positive response because I think carriers are realizing that this is a fundamentally better experience and one that makes it more relevant to them. It's a personalized experience, and that really does matter. So it's early days there, but we're starting to see very, very strong uptake among 3PLs and brokers, as well as among our users.
Yeah, this is one of the trends that I'm most excited about in the trucking industry. I think getting to a point where loads can be booked without a phone call, without an email. It's an API call. I mean, it's going to be such a huge productivity boost for everyone in the trucking industry. And by the way, we should talk about Cloud Trucks integrating with the key with the smart load board. I think that's great.
Yeah, no, I absolutely would welcome that. I mean, there's a related idea here, which is, traditionally load boards have been kind of the runoff, the spot freight, the stuff that hasn't been covered. It is a very small sliver of the available freight in the market, and actually we're kind of turning that on its head. All of our broker partners are actually publishing all of their loads. We're doing direct TMS integrations that are real time, and so when a load gets covered, it's removed automatically. But JB Hunt, Echo, soon many others, are Uber Freight, Convoy. They're publishing all of their loads to our marketplace, and so this is where it truly becomes an aggregated experience that does not exist anywhere else. You could not find all of these loads in the same place on any other platform. And that is what we are trying to deliver. I draw the analogy of like kayak, right? When you go to kayak, you're not just seeing one or two United flights, you're seeing every single available United flight and every single available seat, and every single flight from every other carrier, from every other airline. And that's what we are building here, really, is that experience, which should exist. It has to exist. It's the future. And it's going to deliver, and it already is delivering, really incredible value to our carriers.
Yeah, no, definitely. So this is a good segue to some of the activity going on in trucking and in the freight space generally. I feel like there was this wave of activity around 2015, 2016. Katie was even earlier and kind of early to this in 2013. And it feels like there's kind of a new wave going on right now. So I'm curious if you've been following some of the activity going on in trucking, whether it's at the late stage or the early stage, and if there's anything that you're particularly excited about today.
Do you mean like earlier and late stage companies, or,
yes.
or what specific? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I think there is, it's great to see the level of focus and quality of entrepreneurship directed at the trucking industry. This is long overdue. And so I'm really glad to see it. And you're seeing great companies innovating up and down the stack. I'll give you some examples. I mean, Rose Rocket, Ascend, and some of these others building modern TMS systems, very much needed. McLeod, longtime TMS player, building digital freight matching natively into its platform. If you look at on the payment side, Relay transforming lumper payments, and obviously the work that Cloud Trucks is doing to make it really easier to be an owner operator. But also really building tools for small trucking companies that help level the playing field. And I think that the work that's happening on the technology side in trucking is, I think, transformative, just on the software side. And of course, there's so much happening on the hardware and EV and autonomous side that's, I think, not going to have an immediate impact, but will transform the industry over the long run.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and thanks for that shout out. So, are there any changes in the industry that you think unlock massive opportunities for KeepTruckin in the future?
I think we're in the very early days of the digital transformation of the trucking industry. We've talked about this extensively, but the ELD mandate, in a way, catalyzed connectivity, right? It took an industry that was more or less offline, where drivers and vehicles and trucks were not connected. They weren't broadcasting their availability and their position and their location in real time in any way, and that transformed almost overnight. We played a major part in that sort of unlocking and bringing the industry online. And I think that was kind of foundational. And then you're seeing now a lot of subsequent innovations that are leveraging the data that's now been unlocked, but also innovations that are just, I think, leveraging the fact that trucking company operators and truck drivers are willing and seeking technology to improve the way they operate. The best example of that is the willingness and interest to deploy dash cams. And before, dash cams were like this evil thing. I don't want a camera in the cab. And now it's completely on its head. We are seeing small trucking companies deploy dash cams at almost as high a rate as large companies. And it's because they're recognizing that this technology is actually in aid of them. It is a benefit to them. It's actually helping them run a more safe operation. It's helping protect them against nuclear verdicts and higher insurance costs. And so I think the industry has generally started to really accept and seek out technology that lets it operate more efficiently and more productively. And we want to play a big part in that.
That totally makes sense. And then it wouldn't be fair if I didn't ask this question, so I'll go ahead and ask anyways. Are there any big initiatives or announcements that you would like to share? Do you want to break any KT news here?
Nothing to break just yet. I don't think my marketing department would approve of that. But we do have some really exciting new products in the pipeline, and we're constantly improving our existing products. We really care about the quality of our entire portfolio. And we now have north of 400 hardware, software, and machine learning engineers at the company. And we're expanding that team constantly so that we can keep building the future of fleet operations and continue to serve our customers with excellence.
Yeah, Shoaib, thank you so much. I think we'll leave it at that. And this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining us.